All right, let's try this again. Hi, guys. Little bit of confusion. The scheduling did not work properly. Okay, so welcome to our first mystery card night. If you had a chance to cut up your paper for tonight, your favorite colors and your favorite stamp set, I decided to create the mystery card so everybody starts stamping. I know if you're like me, you have stamp sets that you have on your shelf you haven't used yet, and this will give you a chance to actually use what you have on hand. If you create a card using the directions that I gave you for tonight's card, and once I get into the swing of figuring out how to schedule a YouTube video, it'll work much better. But if you share a card using these clues, I will randomly pick someone out of everyone who shared, and I will send them half a pack of designer series paper. And I have it right here. Let me show you which I'm going to. It'll be a half a pack of the Favored Flowers designer series paper. Okay? So let's get back to our clues. I said I wanted you to get a 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock scored at 4.25. So that was our first direction. And I picked pumpkin pie. I figured I'd use some colors that I don't normally use all the time. And it actually will coordinate with the stamp set I chose. The next piece of the clue was a piece of colored cardstock, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Oh, good. Hello, hello. Like I said, I don't know what happened to the scheduling, so I'll have to figure that out. And I chose, believe it or not, Cajun Craze, another color that I don't normally choose. And then we needed a basic white layer, 5 1/4 by 4. And I said to emboss it with your favorite embossing folder. And I chose the Quatrefoil embossing folder. And then we needed a piece of designer series paper. And I chose a piece from the Dandy Delights. And I think it works perfectly with these two colors, these pretty little flowers. And then you needed a 4 1/8 by 2 7/8 rectangle, or use the scallop contour rectangle. Um, and I chose the scallop contour, and I did it in the pumpkin pie. Hi, Sharon. A little mix up with the schedule of my video, so I'm sorry. All right, then we had to get a piece of colored cardstock that would fit our rectangle frame. So if you did a 4 1/8 by 2 7/8 rectangle, you would need a colored piece of cardstock measuring 4 by 2 3/4. Now, where I use the scallop contour, my rectangle measures 3 1/4 by 2, and it fits right inside that stitching. And then we needed a basic white layer that was 1/8 of an inch smaller than this layer, okay? And then I wanted you to grab a piece of white cardstock for our sentiment. And I had put a note in the room, if you were using a stamp set that used flowers or leaves, to grab an extra piece of basic white cardstock. So let's put the card together. Now I decided to use the Thanks a Bunch. I haven't used it yet. I figured it was a perfect stamp set to use with Easter coming. And like I said, it's been sitting on my shelf and I have not yet used it. So that was my choice. All right, so we're going to, and I did say to grab your some color coordinated stamp pads, and I grabbed Pumpkin Pie, Cajun Craze, and Pear Pizzazz. All right, so everybody's cards should be different. And like I said, if you share it in the group, I will randomly choose a winner to receive half a pack of the favored flowers. Okay, so we have our card base, 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4. I'm going to take the 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 and the basic white, and I am going to adhere these all together. And I'm going to use glue because I don't want to crush my embossing. So we're going to just adhere this, and I'm adhering it to Cajun Craze. Now I will add this to the a blog post tomorrow. So you'll always be able to grab it from my blog. All right, and then I'm going to take that basic white and Cajun Craze and adhere it to my card base. Post the card. Let's see, today is Monday. Let's do it by Friday. Oh, hi, Sheila. I know I messed up. My scheduled video did not fly very well, so I'm going to have to figure out a new way to do it. All right, so now here is my Dandy Delight Designer Series paper. And we are going to, this is 5 1/4 by 1 3/4. And I am just going to adhere this right to the front of the card. Just like that. So we have our 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 attached, our 5 1/4 by 4 embossed layer, and then our 5 1/4. I'm going to scoot that up a little bit. Our 5 1/4 by 1 3/4 of Designer Series paper on the front. All right. Now we have either our rectangle or our frame, and I use the scallop contour, and this is the excuse me, 4 1/8 by 2 7/8 scallop contour die, or you could just cut a rectangle. If you don't have this die set, just cut a rectangle measuring the same, 4 1/8 by 2 7/8. And then a rectangle that's 1/8 of an inch smaller than your rectangle, or a rectangle that will fit inside the stitching, and then a basic white layer. So we're going to adhere our My Cajun Craze. I don't know what colors you chose. It'll be interesting to see what everybody comes up with, because I want people to use their stamps. We all have stamps that are just sitting around and are still brand new. I do. And it's horrible that we do not use them. All right. So I am grabbing the carrot. Let me just see, mine is still new in the pack. I just want to grab a bigger block here. I've never used this stamp set. So there's my carrot. And then I'm going to also use some of the leaves. And then I'm going to grab an additional leaf and I'll fussy cut that out. All right. So we're going to start with this carrot here. And it should fit. It does. Fits pretty well. And I'm going to use the pumpkin pie. And what I'm going to do is ink up my carrot. Gotta make sure it's inked up really well. My pads need to be. I'm going to stamp it off. Actually, maybe not. I'm going to leave it dark. I'm going to just add one here. And then one right next to it. And then I'm going to grab the Cajun Craze. And that is what I'm going to use for the ribbon. Now, the ribbon, or the little pieces that give the carrot some character, you could use this for grass. And we're just going to add this right to the edge. And right to the edge. So we're going to use those cute little carrots. I'm going to leave the Cajun let's close this one up. I pulled out some Pear Pizzazz, and I'm going to grab the leaves that go to the tops of the carrots. And I'm just going to grab a piece of paper. I'm just going to cover this up. And let's add some greenery to the top of these carrots. Let's actually put some right down the center there. So I'm just going to add some greenery. Now this is where whatever stamp set you chose would be perfect for stamping here. Okay, whether you have flowers or you wanted to use the little goose. Lots of different ideas that you can use to stamp. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap and the Cajun Craze, and I'm going to ink it up. I just want to see how it looks stamped off. I'm going to use it stamped off. So I'm going to just stamp it and stamp it again. And then I'm going to do the little ribbing in the same color. Just to change the carrot up. Now, whatever you chose, if you, like I said, now I would, after you put your image down on your basic white, I'm just going to put an additional carrot on the front of this. And I'm just going to quick fussy cut it out. So how many of you do have stamp sets that are sitting on your shelf and you have not yet used them? All right, I'm just going to stamp a leaf. I'm going to stamp one more. And then while I'm at it, let's pull a sentiment. And let's see. Let's do thanks. See, they're still sticking to the paper. They've never been used. All right, we're going to do thanks a bunch. And I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to just punch this out first. So I did say either a die cut or a punch for your sentiment. So I love the double oval punch, so that was my choice. And I am going to put thanks. I'm going to grab a bunch. Yeah, I haven't. You have several that have good intentions. I hear you. That's me too. I still have sets from the mini catalog that I have yet to use. I'm on a design team, and thankfully, that's the Create With Us, where I have that tutorial each month. And that actually helps me use some of my things, like By the Bay. That's the stamp set we're using this month. So if it wasn't for that, that stamp set would be sitting here and not being used. All right, so I am fussy cutting out the leaf. If you have an image that you cut that you can die cut, all the better. But I, like I said, wanted to use the carrots because I haven't used them. And Easter's coming. I probably should have picked a different sentiment, but that's okay. All right, so one more half. Fussy cutting, I guess, is like watching paint dry, right? So hopefully the temperature has risen in your area. I know when we talked on Sunday, everybody said it was pretty cold out. Now today, it was chilly this morning, and right now it's actually pretty nice out. All right, so I have my leaves, I have my sentiment, I stamped my carrots on this little piece, and I am going to now adhere it to my rectangle. I'm not going to glue it because I don't want to see the glue. And we are going to add this to the front of the card. I got to move it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to grab this other carrot, and this is where you can take an element from one of the stamp sets that you've used and stamp, and then add an element to the top of it. If you did flowers, or you could put a frame. So I'm just going to add this right to the center. And then I'm going to grab these larger leaves and I'm going to tuck one under here. And the other one, let's see. I'll tuck it on this side. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut it down. It looks like too much like a reindeer. Let's add a little bit of glue. That dimensional is right there. So I'm just going to add it right like that. Okay. If you decided to use ribbon or embellishments, I thought about using some ribbon. And of course, I'm going to grab some pale papaya. And I'm actually going to grab my dark pumpkin pie. So that was my choice for my coloring medium. So if you have a stamp that you needed to color, I would think you would coordinate it to your cardstock. So I'm coordinating my ribbon to the pumpkin pie. Oops, I got glue on my finger. All right, so we'll let that dry for a few minutes. Let's pull in our card base. We're going to pop this up now onto the front of the card. So if you did a rectangle, pop that rectangle up onto the front of your card. And I am going to center it. Right on the front. And then grab the ribbon and tie a bow. 50s tomorrow. Wow, that's nice. I think tomorrow we're gonna run over again to the DMV. I think I told you about the nonsense with me forgetting to renew my driver's license, and I found out when I went to go rent the car. Well, when Bill's license expired in October, I actually renewed his. But then when we got it in the mail, he has to go and have his picture taken for the license. So I think we're going to do that tomorrow. All right. So here's my bow. I'm just going to adhere the bow, if I can find the glue dots. Where the heck are they? Oh, wow. I'm going to grab a glue dot, and I'm actually going to add the bow right to the top of the carrot. Just like that. I have my thanks a bunch. I'm going to sit it right here on the front of the card. So I need a dimensional on this side and some glue on this side. So let's cut a piece of the dimensionals. Make sure I got it on the right side. And some glue. So we're just going to put it right about here. And then I also pulled out my embellishments are the iridescent rhinestones because there is some orange in here. And I'm just going to add one. Oops. I don't know what I did with my pokey tool. And let's add one here. There we go. All right, so here is my card. For the inside, I'm just going to grab my 5 1/4 by 4-inch layer and my carrot. We're going to keep it to the Cajun craze. And I am just going to ink it up, stamp off, ink it up, stamp off. We're going to keep the Cajun craze. We're going to do full strength. And then full strength. Let's pull in that pear pizzazz. And I'm actually going to use that piece of paper again. Just so I don't hit the top of that carrot. And then adhere our layers with some seal. And then we can glue it to the inside of the card. Okay. So there is, let's fold this over, the card I created with the measurements that I had given you. Yeah, these colors look really pretty. Different. So, ladies, if you decide to take the challenge, use the directions that I gave you in the group to create a card. Don't create this one. Create something with a stamp set that you have not used. Um, Thanks, Sheila. I will, hey, Dawn, I will make sure that I randomly pick someone, have it posted by Friday, and I will pick a random winner, and you'll get a half a pack of the Favored Flowers Designer Series paper. So thanks for taking the time to be with me. I'll be doing a mystery card every Monday night, and as time goes on, I'll get a little bit easier. It'll be a little easier. It's a little difficult doing it for the first time. Like I said, I tried to schedule the video and the link did not work. So I think for what we'll do is I will just go live on Monday nights and I'll remind everybody and put the clue in the group, and I will also send it in my newsletter, and it'll always be available. So have a great night. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.